Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Lions Den podcast, episode 117. Not a victory Monday, but not a loss either. We're still we still have a zero in the loss column, so feeling all right. We're going to talk about the last game against Puebla and then also preview the upcoming match against Chivas. A lot of news coming out of Chivas, especially with Santiago Ormeño heading out there. But let's get to the recap first. Louis, how are we doing?
Doing well. Finally home for a few days after pretty much 2 weeks of solid travel. pretty crazy travel at that. I was in Villahermosa, Tabasco with my girlfriend. Shout out to Isabel, who is definitely not listening to this, but shout out to her anyway. Was with her and her family in Tabasco. Took a overnight bus from there to get to Puebla for the match, and that was after being a few days in Tabasco, being a few days at home. Now I'm a few days at home here by myself here in Guanajuato, just detoxing, chilling, getting ready because Wednesday we got another trip coming up. This one's a little easier, obviously, just to Guadalajara.
A lot closer.
But, a lot closer, drivable, much more straightforward. But it was. I wouldn't have missed the game in Puebla for the world. I already was still sore from having to miss maybe one of the most exciting home games in a long time against Pumas. I was still kind of sore about that. There was no way on earth I was going to miss the next game in Puebla. So I did what I had to do to get there. And, to their credit, they turned it from what was looking like a pretty bitter evening into a bittersweet evening, I would say.
Yeah. Lots of things happened in that game. We'll get to it in just a second, but let's do a quick rundown of the latest news right before game time. Julian Celestin, a new center back, was announced last week, and as a matter of fact, he was just presented to the media today. What do we think about Julian? High hopes?
What I think is we're short on center backs, so I wish he could play on Wednesday. I really wish he could play, even if he's not
doesn't look like
acclimated.
He's going to.
I know, that's why I say I wish he could, even if he weren't acclimated to the system or anything. I mean, neither was Bellon, and look how he did in his first outing. So I would love to have Julien. I think it's Julien. I would love to have him available if we're technically pronouncing it the way that his mother would. I think it's Julien. I would love for him to be available. Yeah, I would love for him to be available. I don't think he will be. So they're going to have to get creative again on the back line. But if Paiva has shown us one thing, the two new additions, I'm not counting Campbell and Yairo, who we know them. They've been here. But the two new additions, specifically, I guess three, if you count Platano, who did not see any action against Puebla. But the two who have seen a lot of minutes, Diorio and Bellon, have been hits, resounding successes. And they were both asked for, pedidos, por Paiva, and so was Julian Celestin. So I have high hopes for him.
High hopes. Yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos, highlight videos on YouTube. Looks like he's really good with his long passes. I think you said it, he reminds us of William Tecillo, sort of. Yeah.
The highlight videos I saw gave me that impression. From a center back, you're not necessarily looking for super technical, but if you can get super technical, that's a bonus. He looks to be pretty fast. He has pretty good pace, it seems, from what I saw from him. So, I mean, I'm just looking for him to go in and be a cumplidor and be a viable option. And if he can do more than that, if he can be a star, well, it's hard to be a star to the center back position. We've kind of been spoiled in that regard with players like Tecillo. Mm-hmm. But if we can get that out of him, that would be amazing. But for right now, I'm just looking for somebody who can cover the position admirably, who can mark, who's not going to get beaten, not going to get outpaced, and who's going to win one-on-one duels. I mean, Bellon has been great at that so far. and that has really helped mask a somewhat shaky back line overall. We can talk about Barreiro later, but yeah,
we'll get to him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm looking for at this point. I'm looking for a cumplidor. I'm looking for, if we see him out there in a starting lineup or as an emergency sub, whatever, that we're not freaking out. That's what I'm hoping from him.
Absolutely. Secondly, let's talk about Ormeño real quick. Ormeño, last week it was announced that he was heading to Chivas, but then there were complications somewhere in the middle with the process about Trophy's not wanting to sign with Pachuca. He wasn't fully committed to signing with them. He wanted, I think it was a salary raise, and he ended up getting it. And today they announced Trophy's to Pachuca, and just maybe about an hour or two ago, Chivas also made the announcement about Santiago Ormeño heading to Chivas. How do we feel about that? It's a buy, right? It's no longer a loan. It's a buy.
Yeah, so that's what I heard.
How are we feeling about that?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I was the biggest Ormeño backer for a long time. Nobody was happier than I was to see him get his first league goal in Mazatlan last season. I was there in person for it, and just to see his reaction to it, like, not just for him to score, but to know that he was helping the team in a notable way. You can tell that meant something to him, and you would have loved to see it continue. But frankly, by the time he got his first goal for the club, it was arguably too late for him in León. I mean, it took way too long for him to get that. He really probably needed that to gain the confidence to do it regularly. I mean, look at Diorio, who's scored in his first 3 matches as a member of the club. I mean, there's just no comparison when a guy can do that. There's just no comparison to, like, anímicamente, as they would say on the broadcast, what that can do for a player. And Ormeño, just the longer he went without scoring, the harder it was for him to score. And we talked about that. And he was not the player. He was never the player he was for Puebla, playing for León. The same can be said for La Ley del Ex Omar Fernández, who of course scored against us in the game against Puebla. The same can be said for both of them. I would say to a lesser degree for Omarcito. I do remember him. There are moments destacables from Omar Fernández, but it was really slim pickings when it came to Ormeño. He never lived up anything close to the hype, and it's a shame. It's a shame for us. Who knows if he could have been that killer that we were hoping that he could be. I mean, obviously we made it to a final without him being that. We won a minor international title without him being that. But who knows what could have been for him? Who knows what could have been the legacy of Ariel Jolán if he had been that? There's a lot of things that we'll never know, and it's kind of sad that the Ormeño era in León was what it turned out to be. I would have loved for it to be more.
Such a likable guy too. It's not like
guy.
We hate him. We don't hate him for not scoring. It's like we can say, okay, like, he no encajó, and that's okay. Yeah. But he's moving on, and nobody's mad at him for that. Because he's such a likable guy.
No, and the hardest part is now, if you're going to any other team, I would wish him the most success in the world. Literally any other team on the face of the earth, even America. I would well, maybe not America, but almost any other team on the face of the earth. Maybe not Seattle Sounders either, but almost any other team on the face of the earth. I would wish him all the success in the world. And now I'm like, I just kind of hope he rides the pine, which is probably what he's going to end up doing anyway. I don't really see him being a factor for his new team, whose name I decisively refuse to mention on this podcast specifically. You know who I'm talking about.
I mean, we're going to have to talk about them later in the episode, because we're going to have to play them next.
Well,
so.
It'll be my challenge for this episode to not mention the name of the name of that club, to circumlocute describing that club without naming them. Yeah, that'll be my reto for today's episode.
Let's see if you can do it. Last but not least, this isn't really related to León, but Grupo Pachuca acquired 50% ownership stake of Real Oviedo, a second division club in Spain. Doesn't mean much now, but maybe in the future we could see some movements from Grupo Pachuca, maybe León or Pachuca heading out there. They already announced one player from Grupo Pachuca that was out there, that's going to be playing for Oviedo. So, like I said, it's not a big deal now, but maybe in the future we may see some transfers between all three clubs. Any thoughts on that real quick before we move on?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, the most important thing, the only way it's really going to affect us is what players are going to be coming and going to and from León, from Oviedo. I would imagine that there are going to be some, maybe not right away, certainly not this tournament, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next transfer window if there were some movement there between all the clubs owned by Grupo Pachuca. Obviously, at some point, the multipropiedad in Mexico is going to have to come to an end. I don't know how that's going to affect such movements. Obviously, they'll work around it. They'll just say that Jesus Martinez Jr. is the owner of León and Jesus Martinez Sr. is the owner of Pachuca, and they'll kind of like circumvent the multipropiedad laws that way. But yeah, obviously, the most important thing is maybe we can get a hotshot player from, coming up in Segunda División, but without really any opportunities to go to Primera. Maybe they choose to bring him to Mexico instead. That could be really interesting. When we need a Julian Celestin type player, maybe we get somebody from Real Oviedo instead, and doesn't cost the club anything. These are interesting things. We complain about when they sent us players from Everton Viña del Mar, but look, we just got Villorio from there, and he's a complete crack. So
yeah,
who knows what we could eventually get from Oviedo. And just a side note, I've been to Oviedo, Spain. I toured with the orchestra here in Guanajuato there. The last time we went to Europe back in 2017. I've seen the stadium. Didn't have a chance to go to a game or anything, but I saw it from the outside. Spent a couple days in Oviedo, the city. It's in a beautiful, amazing place. One of my favorite places that I've ever traveled to. So if they schedule some kind of friendly one day between León and Real Oviedo or something like that, I would be ecstatic at the opportunity to go and see that in Oviedo. I hope that happens.
Yeah, that'd be a super nice trip. Maybe even if they come out here, the whole like Pumas playing
the Tour
Betis
Águila and all these crazy friendly matches that they're playing in season. I feel like we should take a minute to talk about that too. Like, what is up with that? I mean, I know it's just a major money grab. That's all it is. But I feel like it's a bad look for Liga MX that they're playing all these friendlies in season. I know it is, but
there's this issue with foreigners, people who live outside of Mexico, not being able to see the league because it doesn't have that reach. So maybe it's I guess sort of beneficial because people who never watch this league finally get to watch some of our teams, some of our players play against their teams.
I guess in that sense, it could be beneficial. I don't know. I just think it's a bad look to be playing them. I know for the teams that are coming in, the European clubs, it's preseason. So for them, it makes no difference. But for the Mexican league, the Mexican clubs, they're in their season, and the entire rest of the schedule has to work around these friendlies that they're playing against these teams. And what? America still has to play both against Manchester City and Real Madrid, no? If I'm not mistaken. And Chivas is playing against Juventus, and you said on the chat, Carlos, you're just grateful that León is not affected by any of these. When these other clubs are having to play against these European teams, León is getting days of rest. I agree with you. I think that in terms of what really matters, which is being a contender to win the league, I think that will ultimately be better for us in the long run. It's just a strange look. No me termina de convencer.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the Friday night's match. Starting 11, literally the same starting 11 as last time, with the exception of Luis Montes, who started. It was his first start under Paiva, but everyone else pretty much the same starting 11 that we've been used to. Thoughts?
Important to note, Montes started essentially for Osfi, who was suspended, and Jairo played more of a left back role. as we've been kind of clamoring for. So it was the same starting lineup, but also without Ospi. Montes instead of Ospi.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, that's a really, really good lineup. I mean, we don't question Bellón anymore. We know he's solid. Barreiro should be solid, but the guy just has no discipline. You know, as
he's such a hothead. Like,
as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say in Kindergarten Cop, you lack discipline. You know,
¿Cómo?
Like, you lack discipline. He lacks discipline. Like,
yeah.
Bro, why would you? There were literally 10 seconds to go in the half. There was no need to make that challenge. That play was not going anywhere. Why would you do that? It's not just the fact that he made a reckless challenge. It was when he did it. Like,
it was
that,
literally 3 minutes from when he got carded, when he got booked the first time. Yeah, it's such a reckless challenge. You know, at that point in the game, you have to really think about your teammates more than yourself, your teammates, your team. You know that you're down defensively. There's gaps that you have to fill in defensively. And you can't you just can't get sent off like that. Like it was childish. It was like he shouldn't have those meltdowns. And I hope that there's punishments. I don't know what the punishment or the you know, los, what do they call them? You know, the rules Nacho Ambriz had where he would suspend a player an extra day. I don't think Baiba's going to have that, but I think he talked about having some kind of financial punishment,
repercussions.
Right?
Financial repercussions. Yeah,
financial repercussions. And so I don't know what they are, but I hope they're pretty hefty, because we can't have, it's 2 games in a row we've had defenders get sent off. Like that's unacceptable. Can't have that.
And these guys have to know going in, we have no depth. There is no depth at their positions. They have to be more careful. I understand there are plays where sometimes these sorts of challenges are unavoidable, but this was not one of them. This was just not one. This was not one of those instances. Like, do better, Barreiro. I love you, but do better. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, like you said earlier, Omar Fernandez, la ley del ex, scored first on us. Barreiro gets sent off just before the half ends, but then El Dios, Di Llorio, once again saving us from this embarrassing loss. What would have been an embarrassing loss. This guy just can't stop scoring. He's on fire, dude. Where did we get this guy?
And now he's scored pretty much every way you can on a count. I think he scored with his left. I think he's done, not in one game, obviously, but he's got the perfect hat trick. He's one with his left, one with his right, and one with his head. No, I think if I'm not mistaken, like, he's shown he can do it in a lot of ways, which is most encouraging.
Yeah,
because we saw the highlights of him playing in the Chilean league, and a lot of the goals seemed kind of like trash goals, just poachers goals, not really creating anything out of nothing, which he's done now on multiple occasions. I'm thinking about the game tying goal against Pumas, which, I mean, that was a tight angle. That was a tight angle, and he found a way. And then this one, obviously, in a crowd of people, just getting his head on it and putting it in exactly the right place. I mean, that's what Boselli did. I hate that everybody's comparing him to him after 3 games. Hate to make that comparison, but that's what Boselli did.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he can keep doing it, he was an absolute steal. I mean, he does have, like, Máximo Goleador DNA. I think that could be where he's headed. That's obviously where he's headed if he keeps this up. Obviously, if he scores in every match, he's going to be the Máximo Goleador.
Yeah. And it's what we were lacking. I mean, ever since the exit of JJ Macias, we didn't really have anyone who had scored, who was a true natural striker, play that position and actually score, when it was needed from him. Over the years we had Davila, but he wasn't a natural striker. We had Santiago Ormeño, who was just a big failure. We had Leo Ramos, we had Gigliotti. All these players that came through nunca encajaron, Shouts to Chivas del Norte on the chat. We'll fix Ormeño. Louis.
Good luck with that.
Good luck.
He's not even gonna see the. I don't really. If you see in the pitch, that's not good for your team.
Yeah. I also don't expect Ormeño to start against León. Otherwise, that
He's
would
not.
suck.
They already said I think I saw that he would not be available for the match.
Can you imagine back-to-back games, 2 guys from Puebla that we bought?
La Ley del Ex, yeah.
Like
If
they
he
both
played
score against us.
If he played, I would legitimately be afraid that he'd score against us. But I did hear that he's not. That I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to play. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So, anyways, 1-1 at the end of regulation. Final thoughts about the Puebla game. Obviously, you weren't. Wait, you were there, right? Oh yeah, you were there.
Yeah, of course I was. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you were
So
there.
I knew that's why I was like, I didn't make the pregame video. Carlos is going to forget that I was there.
That's all good.
But I was definitely there. Yeah, I was there. I wouldn't have missed it. I was tired. I come off a lot of traveling, but I was there, and I was there long enough to get my tacos árabes, and I didn't, and my semita. I also got my semita. Puebla's a nice trip, man. I was there for less than 24 hours, but it was good.
Nice. Yeah. Well, too bad you couldn't see a victory, but at least you saw the Yorio score.
I saw the Yorio score. Yeah. Well, I had already seen him score in San Luis, but I saw the Yorio score again.
You'll keep seeing him score as long as he keeps scoring and you keep going to the games. You'll be at the Chivas one as well, right?
I will be at the game against that team. Correct.
And Javier's coming with you. I think
Javier is coming with me.
She was going to be there.
Did Cuddy say she was going to be there? That would be awesome. But
I think I heard her say she was going to be there in previous.
No, podcast, I think she said she was going to be at the Chivas Santos game in Torreon, which happened this past weekend. Okay. And I already screwed it up. I said the name of the team.
Yep. Couldn't do it.
Oh well.
Couldn't do it. Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
So, quick rundown of the jornada. I don't know if you got to watch any of the games, but America beating Toluca last week with the red card. Toluca going down to 10 men. America, who was it? Jorge Sanchez, who scored the banger. What a goal.
Richard Sanchez.
Richard Sanchez. My bad.
Yeah.
Puebla León obviously 1-1. Juárez Querétaro. I didn't get to watch that game, but it also ended in a draw. Atlas Cruz Azul, a lot of polemica there with Atlas and Cruz Azul having a man sent off. VAR, I don't know. Did you get to see that play?
I did not. I didn't see that one. The only one I really saw was Tigres Xolos, which was highly disappointing.
Yeah, that one too.
Wait, was that the only one I saw? No, I guess I saw most of Pumas. Who did Pumas play?
Necaxa.
Pumas Necaxa. I saw most of Pumas Necaxa.
Yeah, that was Sunday. Well, it would be like noon for you, right? Sunday noon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Santos, Chivas 1-1. Pumas Necaxa, as you just said. Pumas beating Necaxa. San Luis Monterrey, another sleeper. Monterrey kind of getting lucky there towards the end. Tigres again, not playing to their full potential, just barely beating Tijuana. Pachuca, Mazatlan live right now, and Mazatlan le va ganando Pachuca 1-0 in the 64th minute.
Oh man, I completely forgot. I forgot to put that one on.
Yeah, too busy watching the home run derby.
Priorities, man. I got my big screen right here behind the computer. I got the home run derby, and my boy Julio is raking. I got priorities.
All good. No worries. Priorities. So that's the jornada 3. Like you said, we're gonna be playing Chivas on Wednesday. You're gonna be there. Let's talk about that real quick. What do we expect for as far as the players, the starting 11? Because I know there's some players that are coming back from suspension, like Osby. But then we're gonna have Barreiro out. So it's like, who do we play center back in place of Barreiro? Because we still don't have. How do you pronounce it? Julian, ¿cómo?
Julian Celestin.
There we go. Julian. So we don't have him yet. So who plays center back?
Well, I feel like Fidel filled in kind of admirably in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, he was. I don't know if you want to call him a true center back. Even feeling he was in that sector of the pitch though. He was playing as a very deep lying holding mid. I mean, he is a holding mid, but he was playing deeper. I would say he was playing deeper, sort of to kind of cover that center back role. I could kind of. There was all this talk about a línea de tres before the season, like maybe Paiva was going to play that way, and then he kind of desmintió that notion. But I don't know if we could see something kind of like that. I don't know, maybe just Osvi coming back, maybe Osvi, or maybe he tries Osvi as a center back. I don't really like that idea, but
that's what I was thinking.
Or he could try Yairo. Yairo's a little bit taller, so he could have Osvi as on the left, fully on the left, and then Yairo playing still on the left, but a little bit farther in.
I would switch those two. I would put Yairo left back and then Osvi center back, because I think Osvi's offensive capabilities are nowhere near Yairo's. So I'd rather have Yairo running up and down that sideline.
Yeah,
and then that way you
one
can
option.
Just
I mean, we're it's a lot
position.
of not great. It's a lot of not great options, to be fair. But hopefully our best hope is that our attack is so relentless that the back line doesn't have, whoever is playing on the back line doesn't have to do very much. That would be my that. I mean, they say the best defense is a good offense. Never has it applied more than in this situation.
Yeah, and Chivas, they don't really score much, right? What do they have? Maybe they
have one goal in the season so far.
One goal this season. So I don't know if defensively we should be that worried or that preoccupied. I think we should, given our offensive capabilities and our offensive arsenal, I think we should just try to score as much as we can without getting scored on by a team who obviously can't score. So that's my game plan. That's what I think Paiva's going to do. And then I know Paiva's looking at this team obviously without menospreciando a Chivas, but I know he's looking at this team as a win. It's like, well, Chivas aren't doing that great. They don't have the same, on paper, they're not as good as us. So this is a win. And I know Paiva's going to go after the win.
And on a Wednesday night, they'll have about 10 fans in the stands.
and one Leon fan, you?
No. I would actually expect I would expect the Leon fans to be fairly numerous. They always are in that stadium.
On a Wednesday.
Yeah, on a Wednesday. I mean, we go whenever, but the Chivas fans barely go when it's on a weekend.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see, what else can we highlight here for this Chivas match? Any other thoughts about this Chivas match before we talk about predictions?
All I'll say is we got to go in with intensity, an intensity that we haven't shown in the first half of any game that we've played so far.
A lot of these guys,
because they're not. This is not a good opponent, but they're not a pushover either. They looked better than they had in the previous two matches in the game against Santos. Mm-hmm. And we generally have good results playing in this stadium, but it's never easy. They always put up a fight, and so we got to be ready for that.
And I know you highlighted the matchup between Byron Castillo and Alexis Vega. That's probably the matchup to watch.
Well, I was watching Alexis Vega against Santos, and he was really the only guy doing anything. No, maybe not. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but he was definitely, it has been the case for a while. He is the most dangerous player on the pitch for them. I don't even think he's that great, but he's the most dangerous player on the pitch for them. And his direct mark, theoretically, will be Byron. So just like Byron held, what's his name? Of San Luis, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, John Murillo.
Murillo. He held Murillo completely in check, just as he had been instructed to do by Paiva in the game against San Luis. I I expect to see the same thing against Vega, and I think that could be a big determining factor in the match, in being able to keep them at bay.
Yeah, I think if anything, other than our offensive capabilities, I think that's the matchup to watch defensively, because I don't expect much from any other defender but Byron, because really the only Chivas threat is Vega. I mean, there's outside of that, there's really no other threat.
Yeah, if Macias were playing and not seriously severely injured, I would worry about him with the Ley del Ex. Also, he always, again, I don't think he's been good since he left Leon, but when he plays against Leon, he tries to go the extra mile. So not having him there, I'm not really concerned about anyone else in that roster. I never am, but
right.
Yeah, I think that matchup with Byron, who I think has been good. I think he was so hyped up that people want to see more from him. I think, especially in the attack. But I think he's been solid. I think he was very solid against Puebla. I think Bellón, and obviously the Iorio were the most rescatables of the titulares in that match. It's been kind of an understated start to the season for Byron, but I think he's been solid, and I think there's plenty of room for him to continue to get comfortable and grow. And I want to see him on Vega like Ormeño on those Cheetos in the game against Pumas. Like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah. I like that one. Let's see. Going into this match, obviously we just talked about how maybe easy it might be. Do you expect some changes in the lineup, or do you expect sort of the same lineup that we've been seeing?
Up front, I don't expect to see too many changes. I don't know if Davila is at some point going to work his way back into the starting lineup as a false nine, which is kind of the role that is probably better suited for him, but he's never been able to play really because, he's been the closest thing we've had to a productive number 9, even though he's not a number 9. Mm-hmm. Now we have a productive number 9, so I'm curious to see. The problem is his form hasn't been great coming into this season, even dating back to the end of last season. He's not on great form, so we haven't really been able to see him shine in a position that might be more comfortable for him. I'm curious to see. I thought his minutes against Puebla as a sub were good. I thought Mena's minutes as a sub were pretty good. I thought both of them had serviceable minutes as substitutes. I thought they were active. I thought they were, if not dangerous, they were keeping the Puebla defense honest. I don't know if either of those. I don't know if the plan is to work Mena back into the starting lineup at some point. He's obviously been a titular indiscutible his entire time in León when he hasn't been hurt. I don't know if the plan is to work him back in as a starter or to keep those guys both as super subs. I kind of like having them as super subs. They're relevos de lujo, really. To have those kind of options off the bench. But I don't know. The thing is, we haven't come out sharp in any first half. We had to work ourselves into every game and kind of get that in. I don't know. Fede Martinez, still kind of an enigma. He was good in that game against San Luis. He had to be the sacrificado in the game against Pumas when Ospi got sent off. I don't think that was his fault. Mm-hmm. But he got pulled for tactical reasons, I feel like, against Puebla. He hasn't been able to go a full 90 in any match that he's ever played for León, and there's a reason for that. I don't know if Davila or Mena could work their way back in against them. I don't know. Campbell has been okay. I don't think he's been great. Certainly not indiscutible. Something tells me
I think Campbell's been a lot better this season than in previous seasons with León. He's showing a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could be behind that. He definitely had a really, really nice scissor kick goal against Puebla. I just feel, not against Puebla, against Pumas. But I think, I don't know. I'm still not seeing the 100% buy-in from him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. for that's always been his problem, and it still is. He's bought in for ratos, but not for an entire match. This to say that I don't know, I could see maybe Davila or Mena winning a starting spot back over him or potentially Fede. I don't know. We'll see, but I don't think it'll happen in this match. I think we'll see an attack that looks pretty similar to what we've seen already.
Absolutely.
I mean, the midfield, I wish we had a better option in the contención, like a true recuperador besides Jefecito, because he just hasn't been sharp in a very, very long time. But I just don't. If not him, who? Maybe Fidel can grow into that role. But Fidel, I feel like Paiva views him as more multifuncional, like with maybe more attacking characteristics, or even in emergencies filling in at center back, like he kind of did against Pumas. I don't know if I see him becoming a true number 6, a true defensive midfielder. I just don't know. I wish we had that on the roster. I just don't feel like we do. So until we improve that situation, probably not this season, maybe next off season, but until we see that, he's probably going to be our starter out of necessity. And Chapo, I don't know. Every time he comes in as a sub and he plays well, and you think he's earned back the titularidad, like then he goes and is a titular and shows you why, like
why he shouldn't
maybe
be.
Maybe that's just not his role anymore.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to have that magic touch that he had 2 years ago under Nacho Ambriz. Like I don't know, maybe it was that injury that kept him out, or the couple of injuries that he suffered. But yeah, I mean, it'd be best for the club if he got back into his best form, or if he just accepted a role off the bench. I would really appreciate if he said, you know what, I'm gonna give some of these younger guys an opportunity to start, and for him to realize, like, hey, I'm not in the best shape, I'm not in the best form, I'm much better off, coming off the bench. One other thing I wanted to bring up, which I kind of don't want to bring up, but I have to bring it up because Chivas are in 16th place and we're in 7th. We're at the top of the table. And historically speaking, we're known as the Levanta Muertos. Could we potentially see something weird happening on Wednesday?
Only thing I'll say about that is it's very early in the season. Typically, these kinds of things come into play when the table has kind of taken form a little bit more, taken a little bit more of shape. I remember when we had late season losses to a terrible Juarez side and a terrible Pumas side in recent seasons, when we're talking about jornada 12-13, back towards the end of the back end of the season. This is jornada 4. I'm not saying that we couldn't lose to an inferior team, which they definitely are. What I'm saying is it wouldn't necessarily be considered a Levanta Muertos type situation this early in the season, I wouldn't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Too early to call. Why you think Chivas could make a nice run later in the season?
No, I don't. I'm just talking about what point in the season that we're currently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and do prediction time.
Prediction time!
Louis, hit me with your best prediction for Wednesday, Leon versus Chivas. You're going to be there.
I will be
what
there.
Do you think?
With our good friend Javier as well. We will both be there. Man, the last time I was there for a match was, I believe it was jornada 5 in Holland's first season, the season that we made the final. So jornada 4, jornada 5, kind of like when that team still has hope before it's completely dashed, and before we still really knew what Holland was going to bring to our side, and we completely demolished them 3-0. One of my favorite regular season games that I've ever been to. That was amazing. Goals by Colombato, R.I.P. Not R.I.P. He's still alive, but R.I.P. in terms of his roster status with Leon. Goals by Colombato, goals by Elias on a great counter, and Tecillo had the opener in that one. Really, just a great game all around.
Oh, I remember.
It'd probably be too much. It'd be too much to ask for something similar this time, but I think maybe a 2-0 is not too much to ask.
2-0.
I think, yeah. I think the attack for this opponent has been so awful, just so anemic the entire season. I think even with our defense very questionable and having so many guys out and is not established at all, I think if the attack can do their thing, we can be on them all night and won't even really matter who's playing in the back. That should be the game plan. Control possession, keep the ball going forward as much as possible, be aggressive about it. I think León can be aggressive in this game. We're not really going to have a doble jornada situation in the same way every team has. We have at least 5 days in between our next 3 matches. And it's not that way for most of the clubs. Obviously, there are clubs playing international friendlies that don't have anything to do with the season. But even the ones who don't, we played on Friday. We're playing on Wednesday. We don't play again until the following Tuesday. And then after that, I think I can't remember when it is, but we have another long layoff. I think we don't have to manage legs as much as some of the other clubs. I think they can really go for it and really try to be on the front foot this entire match. That is the best plan, best course of action. And I think they can do it. I think they can get a 2-0.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you that we're going to get this win. And just to be different, I was also going to say 2-0. Damn, you guys are always taking my predictions. I was going to say 2-0, but I'll go 3-0. I think Chivas, 1 goal all season. I don't know if they'll get past us and get any goals unless there's some kind of weird mano negra going on in there. But I do expect us to go out there, like you said, and look for this win with authority. Obviously, you always want to win, and especially on the road, where we've only won on the road this season. So,
but does the Diorio get his hat trick? That's the question. Is it 3-0 with a Diorio hat trick?
Ooh, dang, that's a good question. I'm gonna give him a doblete. I'm gonna give him a doblete, and then let's give one to Campbell. Campbell,
all right.
El Chivas killer. I think
he does like scoring against. He does like scoring against that team. His best moments as a member of Club León were scoring against that team.
What about you?
Yeah, I think it'll be a potpourri. I think the Diorio will get 1. I think Davila comes off the bench and opens his account this season.
Okay.
And then maybe one from somebody unexpected, like
Byron.
Maybe Byron. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Bellón off of a set piece gets an unexpected header or something like that. But no, I think Byron's a good choice. I'm gonna go with Byron.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I think
Byron, Davila, and Diorio keeps his goal scoring streak alive.
Nice.
And maintains himself at the top of the table of the goleadores.
Yeah. Josue chiming in the chat. Shout out to Josue Espinosa. Chapo, injury plus age plus fitness equals super sub, better than a slow, sloppy starter.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah. And it's been like that for like at least a year, man. I mean, Chapo's just in decline, and it's sad to see, but
the problem is he willing to accept that role? And if he isn't, is he going to create a toxic locker room atmosphere? That's what we don't want.
Yeah. Yeah. Also saying we can't be levanta muertos. The majority of teams are muertos.
Yeah, it's been a rather inconsistent start for most of the league this season.
Yeah, I mean Puebla was at the top. We just went toe to toe with Puebla, and they're at the top.
Yeah, no team was able to begin the season. Well, I guess Pachuca still could. I haven't been. What's the update on the score there, Carlos? You got it?
Still 1-0.
It's got to be almost over, right?
It's the 85th minute right now. I bet you Mazatlán has like 12 players in their box.
Yeah, that's going to be some major bus parkage there.
Yeah.
But man, if that result holds, that's pretty incredible. And that would mean that no team would start the season with 3 wins, and only one team would have started it with 2 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
Being Puebla, of course.
Also, Jose Espinosa giving us his prediction: 3-1 Leon and 0 red cards.
Dios te oiga, Josué Espinosa.
Yeah, 0 red cards. Let's not get any more red cards, man.
Please.
Last but not least, I like Lewis's game plan and agree with it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else before we get out of here? This was a pretty short. Well, we're at 45 minutes. It was a pretty short one. Gadi and Javier couldn't be here today, but Louis and myself, as always, holding the fort down when everyone else is missing.
And we keep it short and sweet and concise and to the point, Carlos.
Exactly. Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
No, looking forward to this. Looking forward to this game. I always like this trip. I cannot stand this opponent, but I like this trip. I like going to the games at that stadium.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's it, we're gonna go ahead and pack up, get out of here, go watch the final few minutes of this Mazatlan versus Pachuca game.
Pachuca and Julio continuing to rake in the home run derby here.
Yo, you should like split screen it with the other game because Pachuca 67% possession, Mazatlan 33.
So I'll put it on, Carlos. Don't you worry.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Chivas del Norte, José Espinosa, guys. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure follow Louis. Make sure to follow my account, the Lions Den Podcast. We'll always keep you guys updated on Leon in English. We'll see you guys next time.